Summer has come and gone, and we're left with our garden that is pretty overgrown and dried out. We have a little bit of butternut squash that still needs picked, and carrots, that type of thing, but mostly everything has gone to seed. So today I'm going to show you how easy it is to save seed. One of the really important factors in growing a garden that sustains itself is planting heirloom plants, or plants that can, grow year after year and stay true when they're planted from seed. Some plants are trickier than others. Green beans are really, really easy, so that is what I'm going to show you today. Saving seeds has saved us a ton of money, and I like to think that by doing that, it gives our family security. At this point in the game, the garden has beyond paid for itself. And just a little interesting side note, the same green beans that we eat green can also be let go to the dry stage and eaten as dried beans with a much higher amount of protein. So if we ever were actually in a mode where we needed to survive based on just what we've grown, these would be a great option for protein. So let's just take a walk through the garden and I'll show you how easy it is to save green bean seeds. Yesterday I came out and I picked quite a few already, but I'm just going to show you how dry I like to let the green beans get before picking them. Partially because I got really tired of picking green beans, but partially because I wanted to let them go to seed. I let them dry to this stage where the outside pod is just paper thin. And you can see inside there are really nice dry beans. So if you can manage to leave them on the vine to get to that point, what you will have is this. And these beans look just like the ones that I planted from the grocery store, the big bag of beans. I don't know if you watched that video, but in an earlier video I shared with you how I just bought dried beans from the grocery store instead of buying from a seed supplier, and planted them and got all of these vining beans, which now look a mess, but you can see how amazing they grew. And so what I did was just let them, the last batch, get to this stage. And I came out and picked a ton. Obviously, I still have a ton more to pick. So I'll do that here in just a bit. And then I'll show you how easy it is to separate them. Now, if you are getting to a point where you may run out of time and you don't want to let it, go to this point, maybe, I don't know, the weather's changing, you're going to be leaving town and you're scared that the pods will pop open and spill onto the ground, which does happen. You can actually pick them at a stage that's a little earlier. Maybe not that green. So let's see if we can find one to show you that would be a better option. Perhaps one that is just to the point where they are really, really big and more of the bean is actually taking up the pod than the meat. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, yeah, this would be just fine. If you can't let them get to the point where they're leathery, papery, thin-skinned, this would work as well. What you would need to do with this bean to let the seed dry is different than what you would need to do with the one that I just showed you before, however. So, let me show you the next step of saving these beans, and I'll discuss the differences between saving a bean like this, because this is still a damp bean. That is still really, really high moisture content. So you want to, you don't want to just store that like that, because that is going to try to germinate. If you put that in a closed container for the winter, that just won't work. So, but you can still come out and pick them. No need to worry if that is the stage that they are in. Obviously, if you're getting too much smaller than that, you probably should let them hang out on the vine a little longer or just eat them as a green bean. I think saving seeds is one of the easiest things that you can do to ensure that your garden becomes a fantastic tool for feeding your family on a budget. I'm showing you now how easy it is to save the seeds from our green bean plants. It's just really this simple. As I showed you earlier in the video, I just let the pods dry on the vine, and I'm popping the pods open and dumping them on a tray. I like to use a cloth to line the pods, or to line the tray, just to make sure that if there is any moisture in the seeds, that the tray doesn't get rusty or whatever. I just think it's a nice barrier. These seeds are dried so well that I can't pierce them with my thumbnail. Now, a moment ago, let's see if I can find another one for you. I picked a bean that wasn't quite so dried. Here's one that's a little more green. Now, that's pretty dry. Okay, so a moment ago I picked one that was a little more green, and you can pick them that green. If you don't have time to wait for them to dry on the vine for whatever reason, say you're leaving town, or you're worried that the weather's going to get worse, colder, wet, whatever, go ahead and pick them like that. It's okay. As you can see, there's no meat left in the bean. It is really all seed. But the seed is not dried completely. I can pierce it with my thumbnail. I can break it open easily. There's still a lot of moisture in that bean. So when you pick it, make sure and store the beans out on trays or a flat surface for quite a while, because you do not want to pack them up into bags or glass jars or containers like that. The moisture will destroy your seed supply, and there's nothing worse than thinking that you have a great seed supply for spring, opening the jar and realizing that some of them have germinated, or worse yet, that they're all molded. So you can see the difference, hopefully. Big bean, still moist, not ready to put away, and the smaller bean that is dried and ready to plant. I think that we maybe downplay the importance of storing food, or we think of storing food in terms of just, for catastrophic events or the end times. I have certain friends that like to talk about the end times, and I think that's because it touches on an emotion, or the thought of war, World War III, or a zombie apocalypse, or there's all kinds of really extreme scenarios that could happen, and it's kind of exciting to think about those things in sort of a twisted way. But there are so many other reasons to store food, save food. And I think that as a responsible adult, one of the best things that you can do for your family is to store food. And not only to store food, if you have the space to grow food, know how to grow a garden. If you eat animal products and you have the space to have chickens or to have goats or cows, do it. So many of us don't know how to grow our own food. We go to the supermarket, we buy our food, we don't know where it came from. We have really no idea what chemicals are on it or what's been put in the soil that's grown it. We get sick from our food. We don't know what hands have touched it. We're walking completely on faith that the food is not going to make us ill. We don't know the nutritional value of it. We are made so vulnerable by our food. And by doing this simple act, saving seeds, growing a garden, We are helping ourselves financially. We are helping ourselves health-wise because we actually know what is in our food. If I choose to put a pesticide on my plants, at least I know what pesticide is on that. I know what level I've put it on. I know how long it was left on. At least I'm aware of it. I know the soil is enriched. I know what hands have touched it. I'm aware every step of the process of how my food was grown. Do I grow all of my own food? No, I don't. But I do have the knowledge of how to garden, and I have the knowledge of how to save. And I would like to think that I'm working toward that ability to be self-sufficient and to at least be able to feed my family. One of my worst nightmares as a mother is to imagine a time in which my children are hungry and I can't feed them. Or even worse, to imagine a time that my children no longer have me around and they don't understand how to feed themselves. With genetically modified foods becoming more prevalent and people more and more dependent on supermarkets and big growers to grow foods, these skills are being lost. What my daughter is doing with me now, many children will never learn. Do I have the time to do this? Probably not. I have a business, I have kids, and I have a family. I'm tired. I don't sleep as much as I would like to. My house isn't as clean as I would like it to be. I don't relax as much as I think I should. But this is important. What we're doing right now, this matters. This matters because to me, this is security. Okay, rant over. But you see how easy this is. So, I hope this was helpful. To show you just another plant that I did pick. This is the okra plant. You can break the pod open and you can see all of the seeds. One okra pod is enough seeds to plant more than enough plants to feed a whole family for a season. And as you saw earlier in the video, I have a lot of pods still drying. I'm going to go ahead and let them dry. I'll give some of the seeds away to friends, save some for future years just in case something happens to the crop next year. And then I'll probably use some of them in soups and stews because, like most seeds, as they dry, they are higher in protein. And to me, they have a flavor really similar to dried peas. So there you have it. It's really, really easy to do. I'll do a future video on saving seeds from plants that are more meaty, like tomatoes, cucumbers, that type of thing. But this pretty much applies for peas, beans, those types of plants. So I'm just going to let these dry on the trays. They are pretty dried. I just want to be double sure that there's nothing that's moist that's going to cause any rotting. Then I'll pack them up into bags. I'll probably put them in my food saver this year and store them in a cool, dry place. Next year I'll have a great seed supply and probably for several years actually. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, be sure and hit the like button and be sure to subscribe on your way out to get future videos on gardening and self-sufficiency. Thanks for watching.